Hello all, you are welcome to Steady Right Hub channel. Please subscribe, comment, like and share our videos. In my previous video presentation, I discussed with you the 5 issue sounders identified that managers should consider when evaluating project selection models. In this video presentation, we will talk about the last part of the project screening and selection models. So we will talk about the selection models into details. To begin with, the screening and selection of a project comes in two different forms: the numeric models and the non-numeric models. The numeric models are models that employ numbers as the inputs for decision process involved in selecting projects. So this kind of model use numbers, it use figures so that the final decision regarding the project will be selected. And also we have the non-numeric models. The non-numeric models are the models that do not use numbers as decision input. Rather, it relies on other data. So as we are discussing the models, you will realize that some of the models use numbers or use figures. Some of the models do not use figures or numbers in the decision for selecting a particular project. So let's move on to discuss the models one after the other. The first model we want to talk about is the checklist model. In fact, the checklist model is the simplest method of project screening and selection. What is it? When we talk about checklist model, it's a list of criteria that pertains to the projects that you want to select. So when you have a project, different kinds of projects, and you want to develop a list of criteria that will help you select the best project, that is the checklist. So you are just developing a list of criteria to assess different possible projects, and that same criteria will be used to assess all the projects. And the list that you develop to assess the project is a partial list that pertains to that particular project that you want to select. So assuming that you have a phone, or your phone is spoiled, so you want to buy a new phone. However, you do not have all the money or the resources you need to buy all the brands of phone available. So you choose 3 brands. You choose Samsung, Infinix, and then Tecno that you want to buy. However, since your money is not enough to purchase all these 3 phones, you develop a criteria that you want to follow to assess which of the brands is okay for you to buy. So first, maybe you develop 3 criteria. You develop the camera quality, you develop a criteria, let's say your camera quality, the battery consumption, and then the cost of buying the product. Now you rate it according to the phone. So you have the criteria, so you check and then you take, is it good, is it high, is it low, is it medium? So you take per phone. So if it is Infinix, you take if the cost is high, you take if the camera quality is high or medium, you take. Then at the end you check and compare with the other phone. So Tecno, Samsung, which of them have the rise, or which of them score higher, which of them has higher performance, then you buy that phone. That is how the checklist model also works. So the list of criteria is just a partial, and you have a specific criteria that you are using to assess all the projects available. So the criteria can be profitability. Will the project bring more profit to the company? Is it cost effective? Do we have the enough money to venture into it? How will customers respond in terms of the project after it has been completed? Time to market, will it take long time? Is it innovative? And how supportive it is in terms of technology. Let's consider a typical example, 3 projects that we have, project A, B, and C, with the criteria that you are using to assess. We mentioned that the criteria is the same. So when you check the criteria we are using to assess all the 3 projects, they are the same: cost, profitability, and time to market. So the performance on their criteria, you see we have high, medium, or low. So let's consider project A. In terms of cost, is scoring high, meaning that project A is cost effective, profitability is low, is medium, and then time to market is medium. That means that profitability at the end of the project, it will generate a level of income, but it's not that high, but however you get more profits. Compare with other 2 projects, you could see that project B is performing better than the 2 projects, because in terms of cost, it is cost effective, it's scoring high, so it is cost effective, and profitability too is high. So at the end of the project, you get more return from that project. So without using numbers, you can just use this list to select that project B scores the better, so you choose project B. So that is for the checklist model. Let us consider the second model, that is the simple scoring model, or the simplified scoring model. In the simple scoring model, each criterion is ranked according to its relevance importance. So with the simple scoring model, what it means is that the criterion doesn't weigh the same. Some of the criterion is prioritized than the others. So you rank the criterion according to its importance to the firm. So our choice of project will thus reflect our desire to maximize the impact of a certain criteria in our decision. So when you are scoring or ranking the criterion, you have the desire to maximize an impact of a certain criterion than the other. So you have interest in one criterion or 2 criteria than the other in the decision of selecting the project. Also, by assigning weights to the criteria and then performance of the criteria, the projects with the highest score will be selected. So once you have ranked the criterion to its relative importance, you assign weights to the criteria, and then afterwards the project with the highest score will be selected. This might sound a little bit theoretical. Let us consider the steps involved and then consider a typical example to see how this model works. So the steps involved in the simple scoring model. The first is that you assign important weights to each criterion. So each of the criterion, you assign the weights, or you rank it according to its importance. So some of the weights will be higher than the other depending on how important that criterion is to you and the firm. And then you assign score values to each criterion in terms of its rating. So if it is performing high, you give it 3. If it is medium, you give it 2. Low, you give it 1. And then you multiply the weights by the scores to arrive at the weighted score for each criterion. So you multiply the weights by the score in order to get your score for each criterion, and then you add it per project. So you add the weight scores or the weighted score to arrive at the overall project score. So at the end, you have the overall score for project A, project B, project C, project D in that order, and then the highest project or the project with the highest value will be selected. Let us use our previous example for the simplified scoring model and see how it will work. So in this instance, we have the projects A, B, and C. The criteria is the same, but the weights are not the same. The weight for cost and then profitability are 2. However, time to market is weighted 1. What does this mean? It tells you that the company prioritizes costs and profitability than time to market. So they value cost and profitability to be equal, but they are higher or they are being prioritized than time to market. So it is 2. Then the score for high, medium, low is not there, but rather values have been used. Values have been used to represent their rating, how they perform based on the criteria. So at the end, you multiply the weights. So we can name here A, the weight as A. And then we can also name the score as B. So in the end, the weighted score is A multiplied by B to get you the weighted score. So each criterion weighted score. So the weighted score for criterion cost is 6, and you do the same for the other. So the total project score is 12 for project A, 14 for project B, and 9 for project C. So in this instance, you see that project B has the total score higher than project A and B, project A and C. Therefore, the project that will be selected is project B. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share our video. Thank you.